Imagine a fiery circle closing in on the heart of aggression, where the architect of endless wars stares down his own downfall. For decades, one leader has pushed the region to the brink, with promises of reshaping the map. But now, a new force is rising, ready to turn the tables forever. As the conflict between Israel and the Iran-led axis of resistance stretches into its 23rd month, the foundations of old Middle Eastern politics have crumbled. Agreements like the Sykes-Picot of 1916, the Taif of 1989, and the 1974 disengagement between Syria and Israel are relics of a bygone era, their influence shattered. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in lockstep with Washington, is desperately trying to redraw the Arab Levant to his liking. But after one of Israel's worst intelligence and military setbacks during the Al-Aqsa flood operation on October 7, 2023, Netanyahu's vow of a war of existence against Iran and its allies rings hollow. He boasted to the United Nations General Assembly about changing the face of the Middle East, yet his central aim, to weaken the axis of resistance and expand the Abraham Accords, along with the IMEC corridor project, faces an unbreakable wall. The turning point came with the modern war of June 2025, a direct clash between Tehran and Tel Aviv that forced Iran to ditch its policy of steering clear of all-out confrontation. In response, Tehran made bold moves in its political and security leadership to gear up for the next Israeli threats. Key signals include appointing Ali Larijani as Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council and forming a new Supreme Defense Council. These steps scream determination to rebuild deterrence and strike back at foreign aggressors. Larijani's trips to Iraq and Lebanon are no mere visits. They are a clear field policy to reinforce the axis of resistance, as echoed by top Iranian officials, resistance leaders, and on-the-ground actions. This revival centers on the Ring of Fire strategy around Israel, a clever plan born from the need to balance against the United States wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Israel's hidden nuclear stockpile, and the tight Washington-Tel Aviv bond. Iran empowered anti-hegemony forces through asymmetric warfare, creating a siege of resistance groups to keep conflict far from its borders. Back in 2004, Jordan's King Abdullah II warned of a Shia crescent, but Israeli experts called it the Ring of Fire. The idea was straightforward: drain American forces on multiple fronts, while surrounding Israel with groups that wage drawn-out attrition wars in the shadows, blocking any eastward push into the Levant or Iran. The 2006 Lebanon War proved its power. Hezbollah stopped Israeli advances cold, sparing Beirut from occupation and shattering the myth of Israeli invincibility. It showed that Iran and its allies could enforce a balance, curbing Israel's border redrawing ambitions. But the Arab Spring brought hurdles, with Arab states wary of Iran's sway and even Turkey's role, leading to the Abraham Accords of the 2020s that aligned against Tehran. Still, the Ring of Fire peaked during the Al-Aqsa flood and the Unity of Fronts approach. First ring in Gaza and the West Bank, second in Lebanon and Yemen, third in Iran and Iraq. From October 2023 to September 2024, the goal was to force a Gaza ceasefire, but the Third Lebanon War flipped the script. Netanyahu's risky play, mass-targeted killings and intense airstrikes hit Hezbollah's command hard. The collapse of the Assad regime and blocked supply routes to Hezbollah reshaped the northern front, pushing the group into defense and facing calls for disarmament under United Nations Resolution 1701. Enter Larijani's high-profile meetings in Baghdad and Beirut with Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and Prime Minister Nawaf Salam. He stated firmly, "I am responsible for national security in Iran, and I assure you, Iran has no intention of interfering in your domestic affairs, especially Lebanon. Your state must engage all communities to reach an agreement." The one interfering is the outsider, who comes from thousands of kilometers away with ready-made plans. Do not confuse friend with enemy. Resistance is a national asset for you and for all Islamic nations. This ushers in a fresh era. Iran as facilitator, not intruder, urging the normalization of resistance factions within national defense setups. In Iraq, the popular mobilization forces would stand as a formal state pillar. In Lebanon, Hezbollah as a structured military security arm poised against outside attacks without full disarmament. The aim is integration under control, turning these groups into national guardians accountable to the state yet fierce against Israel. It echoes the Beijing Agreement of March 2023 between Iran and Saudi Arabia, fostering a shifted regional climate. Iran's partners kept their involvement limited in the recent 12-day clash, curbing Tehran's full might to dodge a wider United States tangle. But June's lessons have Iran ramping up support for Hezbollah as the front line, arming it against Israel's so-called existential threats. Tehran has also supplied Yemen's Ansar Allah with cutting-edge missiles, swinging the balance back. Meanwhile, the European trio's trigger of the snapback mechanism to slap back United Nations sanctions on Iran heightens the clash potential. If Netanyahu dives into another military push, it could ignite a full regional blaze. Israel and its backers might try to hammer Hezbollah, Yemen's Ansar Allah, and Iraq's resistance before a straight Iran-Israel showdown. But as Iran and its allies regroup and recharge, the clock ticks in their favor. Israel must weigh the peril of round 2 and the fallout that could topple Netanyahu's grip for good. The ring of fire tightens and the end of his reign draws near. Stand with the resistance. The Ummah rises as one.